On New Year's Eve, my mother suddenly suffered a heart attack and was rushed into the ICU for emergency treatment. I immediately called my wife, but the person who picked up was her first love. His tone was mocking. "She's making New Year's Eve dinner for me. Is there something you need?" I paused for a moment, then let out a faint smile. "Nothing. Happy New Year to you both." Half an hour later, my wife called back. "Hubby, Everin Hansley was all alone and feeling down. I'm just having New Year's Eve dinner with him. I'll be home soon." I replied calmly, "All right." But there was no need for her to come back. She could stay with him, for good. The light outside the operating room stayed lit. I leaned tiredly against the wall, clutching my phone in silence. One by one, relatives and friends arrived. "Nash, how's your mom? What did the doctor say? Where's Morgana Hayes? Why didn't she come with you?" I lowered my head, unable to answer. After my mother was brought in, the doctor's pseudocritical condition notice right away. I watched as doctor after doctor filed into the operating room, yet not a single one came back out. And Morgana? Should I even mention that she had just posted on Instagram, clinking wine glasses and smiling at her New Year's Eve dinner with Everin? I could only bury my head like an ostrich, licking my wounds in silence. Then my in-laws arrived. Not seeing Morgana around, my father-in-law's face darkened immediately. Without saying a word, he pulled out his phone and dialed her. "Where the hell are you? Get back here, now." Before he could finish, Morgana's irritated voice came through the phone. "Dad, is Nash complaining to you again?" I already explained things to him. "He's just being overly sensitive." My mother-in-law tried to interject. "Morgana, Mom, don't say anything. I'll handle things between me and him. You and Dad don't need to interfere. I still have things to do." I'm hanging up. After the call ended, my mother-in-law okayed at me, embarrassed. My father-in-law's face was thunderous, and he was about to dial again when I smiled faintly and stopped him. "Dad, since she's busy, let's not disturb her anymore." The moment I said that, it felt like all the strength had drained from my body. I slid down the wall, exhausted. Around me, murmurs rose. Relatives and friends couldn't hide their disappointment in Morgana. She was my wife, my mother's daughter-in-law. No matter how busy she claimed to be, she should have shown up, but she didn't. The light outside the operating room finally went out, and the door slowly opened. I looked up, hope surging in my chest, only to be met with the doctor's solemn faces. My hands trembled as I stepped forward. The moment I saw my mother's lifeless body, the dam inside me broke. Tears spilled uncontrollably. Right then, I could no longer deceive myself. There would never again be someone who loved me so completely, so selflessly. I turned down the company of my in-laws and the well-meaning relatives and friends who had gathered. I asked them all to leave. That night, I stayed in the hospital alone with my mother. Just the two of us. One final night. At dawn, I called the funeral home to arrange her final grooming and prepare for the service. I watched as they carried her body away. With trembling fingers, I pulled out my phone and typed a message to Morgana. "Mom is gone." I stared at the screen, wishing, hoping, she would call at once, show up beside me, and wrap me in her arms. But the message disappeared into the void like a stone sinking into the sea. I let out a hollow laugh. I had loved Morgana for 10 years, from the moment I first laid eyes on her, love at first sight. 5 years of quiet companionship, 3 years of relentless pursuit, and 2 years of marriage. I had gotten used to having her in my world, but from this moment on, I had to learn how to live without her. When we first met, she wore a white dress, her hair tied back in a simple ponytail, no trace of makeup, and her smile was the cleanest, purest thing I had ever seen. The day she agreed to marry me, I was over the moon with joy. As I slid the ring onto her finger, I leaned in close and whispered, "For the rest of my life, it'll all be you." Her smile in that moment was so sweet, so radiant, it carved itself into my memory. Before marriage, I had cherished her like a treasure in my palm. And after marriage, nothing had changed. I still did. She never liked showing affection in public, always saying, "Our life is between the two of us. What others envy or say doesn't matter." But deep down, I knew she had been lying. Because when she was with Everin, the school building, the playground, the tree-lined path, every corner had been a stage for their public affection. Though I felt jealous, I never forced her. I held firm to the belief that Everin was her past. She was now my wife, and I was the one meant to stay by her side for life. But that belief had started to crumble. Time and again, she left me for Everin. And I was growing more and more exhausted. Loving her was tiring. Everin called. "Morgana got drunk last night. I didn't feel safe letting her go home, so she stayed at my place. But don't worry, nothing happened between us." Listening to the smug, provocative tone in his voice, I replied calmly, "Oh, anything else?" He hadn't expected that kind of response. After a pause, he said, "Nash, you're very self-aware. You know, making a fuss is useless. Thanks for the compliment." I hung up, turned around, and walked straight into a nearby law firm. I saw Morgana again on the second day of the new year. I was sorting through my mother's belongings when she suddenly pushed the door open and stepped in. "Today's the second day of the new year, and we're supposed to visit my parents. I'm going to change clothes." "Wait a moment, we'll go together." I didn't refuse. After all, my father-in-law and mother-in-law had always treated me well. Before Morgana came out, already dressed and ready to go. I was a little surprised. In the past, it would have taken her at least half an hour to change. It wasn't until I saw Everin waiting in the car that everything made sense. So it wasn't about New Year's customs. She didn't want to keep Everin waiting. Everin smiled at me. "Nash, hop in. Today I'll be your and Morgana's driver. I'll go with you to visit her parents." I turned and asked her, "You want him to come too?" Morgana quickly explained, "Don't overthink it. Everin was feeling lonely at home, so I brought him along. It's just a meal. We'll come back after eating. I smiled and opened the car door, getting into the back seat. She was right. It was just a meal. The last meal. Morgana, you get carsick. Sit in the front. Everin graciously opened the passenger side door for her. She looked at me with hesitation, but only paused for a second before getting in. I used to worry about her getting carsick, too. Back then, I always offered her the front seat, but she would refuse and choose to sit in the back alone. It didn't matter anymore. I turned my gaze to the rapidly passing scenery, my mind drifting to the call I'd received earlier from the funeral center. My mother's body had already been groomed. Her funeral was tomorrow. The funeral director had asked if I had any additions for the ceremony. He also suggested I discuss it with my wife. After all, the son and daughter-in-law played important roles in the service. But watching Morgana laugh and chat with Everin in the front seat, I no longer felt like saying a word. I quietly pulled out my phone and sent a message to the funeral center. Remove the daughter-in-law's role from the funeral ceremony. Everything else stays the same. Nash, who are you messaging? Morgana suddenly asked. Without even looking up, I replied, a friend. She didn't press further, but throughout the rest of the ride, I kept catching her watching me through the rearview mirror, as if she wanted to say something, but couldn't. But I didn't spare her a glance. I simply turned my head toward the window and stayed silent. In the past, I was the one who always initiated conversation, while she responded with cold indifference and impatience. Now, I no longer felt the urge to speak. When my father-in-law saw me, his expression lit up with warmth, but the moment Everin stepped out of the car, his face turned frosty. Everin took out 2 bottles of liquor from the trunk. Morgana smiled and said, Dad, Everin specially brought these for you. I don't want them. Without hesitation, my father-in-law grabbed the bottles and smashed them onto the ground. Everin's face darkened instantly. Dad, what are you doing? Morgana shouted in disbelief and hurried to calm Everin down. What am I doing? I'm cutting ties with you. His voice thundered, rage blazing in his eyes. From today onward, I have no unfilial daughter like you. Now get out. Then, without even looking her way again, he gripped my hand. Nash, let's go inside. I gave a faint smile and said, Dad, don't speak out of anger. Don't act like the good guy. This is all because of you. Morgana snapped at me, her voice sharp. You always go running to Dad with every little thing. Nash, when will you grow up? Still tattling like a child, are you even a man? My smile faded. I nodded slowly. You're right. I won't do that anymore. My father-in-law's face was red with fury. He pointed at Morgana and roared, Why are you yelling at Nash? He didn't say a word to me. I was the one who chose not to recognize you as my daughter. Apologize to him right now. Morgana's expression turned cold. My father-in-law trembled with rage, nearly raising a hand to her. I quickly stepped in and pulled him inside the house. Morgana followed behind, dragging Everin along. Nash, I know you're angry that I didn't come home on New Year's Eve. I can explain. Morgana spoke with a cold face and a stiff tone. That night, I drank tea. Oh much. Everin didn't feel right letting me go home alone, so he looked after me all night. Nothing happened between us. Don't think such filthy thoughts. Got it. I answered flatly. Whether something happened that night or not, frankly, it no longer mattered to me. Aren't you going to ask me anything? Morgana pressed again. No. I turned around and headed to the kitchen to help my mother-in-law cook. Morgana had never stepped foot in the kitchen. She always said she hated the smell of cooking oil. Even after marriage, cooking had always fallen to me. Nash, don't bother with that. Come talk, just us men. My father-in-law stopped me, lighting a cigarette and handing one to me as well. I didn't smoke. I just held it between my fingers. My father-in-law let out a long sigh. About your mother. I'm truly sorry. Morgana went too far. As her father, I bear some of the blame too. If you decide to divorce her, your mother-in-law and I will support you. I don't even have the face to ask for your forgiveness. I hope that after the divorce, you'll still treat this as your home and visit often. I lowered my head, staring at the cigarette in my hand. I didn't say a word. Morgana's expression shifted slightly. Dad, what are you saying? Why would Nash want to divorce me? What did I do wrong? And what happened to Mom? My father-in-law's face was burning with rage, the cigarette trembling between his fingers. You have the nerve to ask? Your mother-in-law treated you like her own, yet what did you do? She had a sudden stroke on New Year's Eve and was fighting for her life in the hospital. Where were you? When she took her last breath, where were you? Not a shred of respect or decency. If it weren't for Nash, you wouldn't have even stepped through that door today.